Hello and welcome to another edition of Saltwater Gaming. My name is Ellison Smith, and today we will be going over the newest AAA title release from Ubisoft. Not Assassin's Creed Origins, that's gonna have to wait for another couple of weeks, but the newest South Park game, South Park: The Fractured But Whole. For those of you that have been avid followers of the franchise, South Park came out in the 90s. It is based off of the Comedy Central television station. It has been around almost forever. It's not Simpsons level, but it is very much a cultural timepiece. Started off with this almost terrible quality of animation of paper cutouts. And what was a cartoon about children just swearing and having alien probes and alien satellites pop out of the rear ends. Shockingly, probably the best form of satire for current events and what's going on in the news and what's going on in entertainment. Everyone gets taken to the tool shed by South Park, essentially, and that's how you know you made it. Like how a lot of musicians know that if you get a parody song by Weird Al Yankovic, you've made it in the world. South Park is the Weird Al Yankovic of television, and now you have Family Guy and American Dad and all the other kind of dark comedy satire shows. But South Park is very much one of the founders of going and pushing the boundary. And their history with titled games is very shaky. For those of us that remember, I think it was Shockwave.com back in the day, there were a couple of South Park games on there, Flash games, that were hysterical. There was one where you were Mecha Barbra Streisand and you fought other giant robots. There was one released for the Nintendo 64 that was essentially a snowball fight that was not taken well. And more recently, so about 3 or 4 years ago, there was their first attempt at a RPG partnering with Ubisoft called The Stick of Truth, which I played, and it is probably one of my favorite games of, that time. And it also is an added bonus that it comes with Fractured But Whole. So if you haven't picked it up yet, just get both games for single price. Good deal. But anyway, okay. So the Fractured But Whole is the sequel to Stick of Truth. Stick of Truth was South Park's take on fantasy RPGs. So you could pick from being like a rogue, warrior or paladin, cleric, mage, and Jew. So essentially priest. But, with a little bit of a dark and anti-Semitic flair. And for what it was worth, Stick of Truth was a very traditional RPG. It didn't break any barriers, but it also highly contributed to South Park's cultural standing. If you're a fan of the show, you loved it. If you are a fan of RPGs, you probably were a little bit queasy at times, but you realized that, hey, this is actually a pretty decent game. And it was. Like, out of 10, I'd rank it about a 7 or an 8. So we would have gotten a sequel sooner, but had to get pushed back, and, it's out now, so that's what matters. So Fractured But Whole gives us the superhero story instead of the fantasy story. It takes place right after Stick of Truth, and for those that watch the South Park series, you remember the kids, Cartman, Stan, Kyle, Kenny, everybody having their own kind of superhero alter ego that they've had in a couple different episodes of the series. Those characters now come into play for the superhero role. And essentially what they're doing is a parody of what Marvel and DC have been doing with competing franchises. They also call every battle that they have between the two teams, quote-unquote, Civil War. So, yeah, they're not holding back on that. And they're finally cashing in on the superhero madness that has been going on since, let's see, 2008. Yeah. It's not going to have spoiler alert, so no spoiler warnings are in effect. I'll give small hints, if anything, but you're relatively safe. Just saying. Alright, so it takes place right after Stick of Truth, and I do apologize for going back and forth with this, and the new engine that they used for Fractured Butthole is amazing. It's no longer just turn-based, it's now a grid system, which is, I think, a little bit more traditional Japanese, or it might be American RPG, I'm not sure. But it's a lot more efficient, and it's a lot cleaner for combat, and in animation for combat. So you get summons, and you use items, and they flow a lot cleaner than they did in the previous game. You have about 10 different classes that you can pick from. You get 4 chances to change your classes, and then you can kind of customize as you see fit. If you are a pure melee fighter, there's about 3 different builds that you can use. If you are a range, there's about 4. If you are what they call a status effect buff, then there's plenty for you to do. It has a play style for everyone. This game is also very much heavily reliant on customization. You get a lot more options this time around, and the wonderful satire involved in this is once you pick your skin color, that's essentially how you're choosing your difficulty. So the whiter you are, the easier you're going to have, versus the more darker complexions changes how the townspeople interact with you, and apparently how much money you receive and gather in the world. So South Park is pulling no punches with this. You're also able to customize your gender and your sexuality, which is very progressive, but in a very South Park way. Small tiny tidbit is that there will be a fight every time that you have to choose where you stand, gender and sexuality-wise. I won't say with who, but there is a little scuffle. And no matter what you do, you will find yourself in that scuffle. Which I think is a bit fun. So, this time around, you're not getting Facebook friends, you're now getting followers on quote-unquote Kunstagram, since Facebook is apparently kind of, it's a constant, but Instagram has now become the go-to for social media. So you're going around and taking selfies with all the characters of South Park, and that's how you get more followers, and that's how you gain a lot more bonuses in the game. So that was always fun, going around and checking out who you can get a selfie with and who's just there for your traditional NPC role. The game's layout has also changed. Stick of Truth was more catering to seasons 1 to I think when Trey Parker and Matt Stone started not to the non-canon days versus the more recent seasons. So the old Stick of Truth layout is no more. They now take in the map to where it currently stays in the South Park universe. So you get the City Sopa ruins, you get the Shipo Town, the new kind of uppity places. PC Principal is now a character. He came in, I think, 2 seasons ago. He's now a guy you go to for some alignment things. You also get throwbacks. You go and search the closets, and there's the Stick of Truth costumes and little Easter eggs. There's plenty of them from the old seasons and the new ones, and the more recent ones. There's always something to look for. There's always something to do. Now, the story is good. It's a lot longer than Stick of Truth was. I beat this game in about 2 to 3 days, but I'm also a completionist for missions, so if you're just trying to do the story, it should take you about 48 for 2 days maybe. So not bad on time. Closing out the review, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll finally give you the overall layout. So here's some stuff that's coming up from Eventide Entertainment. Also, if you have the time, there is an app that I would very much recommend downloading if you are a fan of our podcasts in our entertainment company. Eventide has been programming with the Spreaker app. So if you are a fan of the podcast and you like hearing me talk randomly about games and a bunch of our other podcasters talk about comedy or just what's going on in life and politics and the news, do go and download the Spreaker app / the website. Give us a follow, give us a like, and just stay in touch, and we will let you know when there's a new episode of every podcast out there. So now here's a quick break, and here's Mike to tell you what's coming up with Eventide Entertainment.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Are you into making music, videos, or podcasts? Are you a local comedic talent in need of some much-needed publicity? Are you a behind-the-scenes professional interested in audio-video production, graphic design, and public relations? Eventide Entertainment is actively seeking talents, clients, and professionals to help our business grow into something truly special. And we want you to be one of those. For more information, go to facebook.com/Eventide Entertainment or send us an email at eventideent@gmail.com.
And welcome back to Saltwater Gaming. Okay, so I know that for the beginning parts of these episodes, it's me babbling and saying, oh, this is a good thing, look for this, look for that, look for this. The later parts are normally me just giving you the lowdown. So here again is the lowdown for Fractured Butthole. So it is a superhero RPG, essentially. You pick between Coon and Friends, which is Cartman's team, and Freedom Pals, which is Stan's team. And Timmy and Token and a bunch of other characters. And you're trying to... Their goal is to see which franchise can get more money and become a better franchise. That's the overview of it. There's a bunch of different surprises that happen throughout the story. The main boss is not who you would expect, but at the same time you can totally see it happening. And it's very much a cleaner game overall compared to Stick of Truth. You now get to summon friends to help you with environmental puzzles. You get, I think, about 5, maybe 6, and they help you solve the little puzzles and find all the collectibles around town and get through different environments and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple characters that pop up from the very early seasons that were gone from Stick of Truth. Tally makes an appearance. That's not really a big spoiler. And there's shenanigans with Randy Marsh, and who I think is everyone's favorite character at this point. And just it's very much a longer and better written, more well written game. There is some stuff that could be more drawn out. The only complaint I have is that there's nothing to do post game besides try and find more collectibles. If you've missed any, if you're not a completionist, then that's fine too. But there is a season pass option, so hopefully that means that there will be DLC coming for the game, because there was absolutely none for Stick of Truth. So this is also a game that I could totally see having DLC, and I would gladly pay for any additional storylines or characters or anything for this game. Pros, it's a South Park game, so it's hysterical. You get all your favorite foul-mouthed children. You get to see a bunch of different superpowers at work, and you get a wonderfully long and well-crafted South Park episode. The control scheme's a lot simpler. Everything's a lot smoother. The new engine that they're using is gorgeous, and if you are a fan of the series, you will have a wonderful time. Cons, no post-game. Sometimes it feels a little bit too drawn out. There's still a lot of fetch quests. I don't mind it, but some might. And we don't know if there's any DLC coming out. Overall, I would give this game a buy if you are a fan of South Park and if you are a fan of RPGs. If you're not a fan of RPGs, I would rent it. And if you're not a fan of South Park, I would rent it just so you can kind of see how it functions and how it plays out. If you do buy it, you do get Stick of Truth. So essentially you're getting 2 games in one, and you're getting a first game and a sequel. So it's like and if they come with a third game, you're probably going to get all 3, and that'll probably be next generation. So it's like it's like the Indiana Jones trilogy of foul-mouthed children and a lot of fart jokes. So it's very much the dirty trilogies, essentially. The power set of your character changes with your classes, and mostly it involves farting like it did in the last one. There's more creative ways that you can do it this time around, and there is a mentor figure in the game that you will find hysterical. And there's also this isn't spoiler at all. There's also a quest that popped up in the news and got a little bit of flack for South Park Studios. The Kanye West mission looks like it could be referencing blackface, but I think that's just an animator going ham on some animation stuff. I don't find it offensive, and I don't think you will either. It's a funny quest. It's a funny playthrough of it. I think you'll enjoy it. Pick this game up. If you love the Stick of Truth, definitely pick this game up. If you like RPGs, this isn't Elder Scrolls or anything else. This is very much a simplified RPG, and it plays very well. I highly recommend it for fans of comedy, foul-mouthed children, and beating up homeless people. This has been a wonderful experience, and I do hope that Ubisoft does release a pack of DLC, and that we at least get a third game, because if they just stop it at 2, I will be very disappointed. But that's going to be all for this edition of Saltwater Gaming. South Park: The Fractured Butthole is out now. Get it on Amazon. Get it at your local GameStop if you really enjoy GameStop, or if you just want GameStop points. Get it at Walmart, Best Buy. Get it at your major retailer. Rated M for everyone. Please don't let your sibling play this unless your parents are the cool parents and they let him watch whatever he wants. This isn't Call of Duty. This is a game that is very heavy on the satire. Alright. My name is Ellison Smith. This has been Saltwater Gaming, and we will see y'all again next time.